Yeah, a couple great thoughts on this, and it's good to be with you. One is fact finding in the American courtroom is a tedious process. Oftentimes the rules of evidence, the rules of professional responsibility, which are being cited here, are cumbersome and have to, sort of be navigated. And so you're seeing that right now. You're seeing both sides argue about it, but one of the reasons they're arguing so strenuously is that the allegation is that Mr. Wade filed a false statement in his divorce proceeding, which is a big deal. And so that would obviously go to the veracity of Mr. Wade, and it opens up the floodgates. And I think it's why this is being pursued so strenuously, is to try to prove this point that they've been covering up this relationship, and therefore that allows I think a whole host of outcomes. So that's what you're seeing right now. Lawyers, it's not oftentimes a exciting process, but for me, this is fascinating to watch.
Yeah, that's interesting to point out. Obviously, this is going to play out for quite some time throughout the day. But you want the result, right? You want to know exactly what's going to happen, in which that may take some time. I'm curious to go back in time with you, if I can, Matt.
Sure.
The co-defendant that brought the allegations forward, Mr. Roman, I believe, in this, again, 19 defendants in this RICO case. Did, in your mind, the district attorney, Fani Willis, did she, and I use this phrase, but bite off more than she could chew in this moment? Did she have to go this far? Because if Mr. Roman, a co-defendant in that RICO case, did not come forward, would we be watching what we're watching play out on our screen across the nation?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And these RICO conspiracies are oftentimes a great way to catch minor players, and in this case, high-profile players. Remember, the overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy that Mark Meadows did was he made a phone call to Congressman Scott Perry. That was the overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy in this RICO theory. And so, yeah, I mean, to some extent, I think this was kind of playing out in real time. And who produced this information, it was probably available to many of the defendants, and they were able to, through a joint defense agreement, talk about it and decide who would ultimately bring this challenge. But you're right. If it weren't for one defendant in a 19-party RICO conspiracy, we may never have seen this.
Yeah, who hired counsel Ashley Merchant, who's the woman who we see questioning now the witness. And by the way, she was very strategic, Matt. Can you talk to us about how ultimately we got to this point in the case, this misconduct hearing, based on her own research preparing for her client?
Yeah, obviously there were, I think, some grumblings out of even the DA's office about this inappropriate relationship and why Mr. Wade was hired in the first place to run the most high-profile prosecution in the entire office. And she caught wind of that, was able to drill down through the divorce proceedings in Mr. Wade's divorce case and come up with some pretty, what I would call smelly fish, and kept digging, and ultimately was able to justify this court filing, which, it was an explosion that everyone heard when this was filed. Now, the question that I think is the ultimate question is, does this disqualify anyone from this case? And we're going to have to get to that nexus. Ultimately, it's got to have something to do with the case. And I think really that nexus is most likely the inappropriate relationship coupled with the money laundering scheme where he was overpaid for false billings and false billing statements on this particular case, and the DA was involved. And so that could be a very interesting way that this could play out. But again, we're not there yet because right now we're in the fact finding. The judge found there was enough allegations that he had to have this hearing, and we're going to grind it out probably at least today and maybe in the next couple days. And I think one thing that the attorney Marchant points out that we all need to know is most of these witnesses are hostile to her case and are friends with the Wade and Fani Willis in both of these people, and so they're going to not necessarily. It's going to be like pulling teeth to get them to say anything, but they're going to have to be truthful because they're under oath, and that's the most important part.